Hi there, friends. I'll come in here with a quick note to let you know that the first global Product Owner Summit organized by the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is coming soon. To know more, check out the bit.ly/Product Owner 2023. That's bit.ly/Product Owner 2023. That's all one word, all lowercase. And stick around to the end of the episode to know more. But for now, on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Team Tuesday this week with Daniel Westermayr. Hey, Daniel, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me again. It's
Absolutely.
exciting to be here.
So yesterday we talked about failures, and those failures are important points of learning or moments of learning for all of us. But teams sometimes also fail, and we'll talk about a failure at a team level in a minute. But before we dive into that, Daniel, share with us, what's the book that most inspired you in your career as a Scrum Master?
Oh, wow. You should see my bookshelf here. It's on the left. And actually, we got a meme in my company that whenever we're talking about books, and that may be interesting to read, that I grab to my left and put it out on my shelf because the chance is high that I got it. I'm a totally reading nerd and I really love reading. And so that question is not easy to answer, but the one that I always recommend is Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow. Just because it made me realize, and the first time, really realize just how biased we human beings are and how faulty our intuition really is, especially when it comes to product development. And this is why actually I think working with data is so important. And as William Edwards Deming once said, without data, you're just another person with an opinion, right? So people, if you hear this, get the book.
Absolutely. There's a quote, I don't know if it was Deming or somebody else who said, "In God we trust, everybody else brings data."
Oh, well, it's also Deming. Yeah, all others must bring data.
This is Deming has genius quotes about many aspects related to management, and
yeah, exactly. And
we could be here for the whole episode exchanging Deming quotes.
Exactly. And especially if you consider that, we're talking about things that are like 70 plus years old, right? And I'm wondering, when I was studying in the late 90s, it was like, okay, we did Gantt charts, we did all kinds of project planning, but that stuff that was literally 40 years old at that point, where is it now? Why is it not part of the learning curriculum of people?
So let's share one of those Deming books that you read and loved. So what would one of those be?
Yeah, one of them would be Out of the Crisis.
The classic.
Yeah, that's the classic with his 14 points of management. And I think, let me just look on. Okay, I got a print from 1982, so which is almost as old as I am.
I don't know which. I was trying to look backwards. I don't know which version or which year of the print I have, but I know it's a pretty old one because I can see from the type, the letter type that it's a very old print method.
Yeah, but it was not part of my studies, so I'm wondering why. Because the things
it still isn't
as valid today as they were then.
Absolutely, and it still isn't. Many people in the Agile world still don't know who Deming was and what he wrote about. A lot of his lessons, which, by the way, are part of his work with Walter Schubert, is part of the no estimates method that I describe in my book. And a lot of people still don't know about him. They know about Lean. Many do know about Lean these days, but they don't know that Deming is the father of Lean. Or maybe we should call him the grandfather of Lean.
There is a very nice talk from Russell Ackoff who refers to Deming at that point. So Russell Ackoff was working with Deming at that point, and it's really a nice one. If you want, I send you the link as well. It's also a great one in terms of systemic viewpoint and systemic thinking.
Yeah, and Deming and Schubert, who wrote the book on statistical process control, were actually already talking about systems and thinking in systems. They didn't have the systems thinking language yet. It was way too early for that, but they were thinking and talking about systems. So, Daniel, we now turn our attention to teams which are their own systems as well. Absolutely. And we want to explore one of those stories where a team kind of started with these small things, small behaviors that over time kind of accumulated and grew and caused problems for that team. So do share with us that story, Daniel.
Mm-hmm. So maybe I should start with, from what I have seen, I somehow feel that the word team feels slightly overused, because nowadays I feel that any group of people that are working together somehow are called a team. But I wonder, when companies are forming these groups, do they ever really think about the preconditions that you need to have to enable a team forming process in the first place? I mean, if you're lucky, you have one common goal, but that also varies, because sometimes the analysis part has their own goals. Sometimes the developers have their goals in terms of like delivering features, and I'll get to that in a second. And if you're lucky, you have one common goal, although even that sometimes is muddy and maybe superficial. But there is a second criteria that is even more important. People need to truly need each other to reach that goal. And from what I've seen, more often than not, this is not present. And this gives way to all kind of funny conversations that I've seen. Like in one team, when we were updating the board, it was like, okay, so the developer ran through it. I finalized this requirement. I'm done. And he put it on done. It's like, hold on a sec. And I was putting the sticky back to where it was, because from a customer perspective or organizational perspective, it was just not done, right? So, but from his or her viewpoint, that stuff was done. And in the same team, I had a conversation like, it's done, just needs to be tested. So, and that was like really feeling really awkward. And I think in parts, the bad habit that companies have, like splitting people between projects or utilizing people individually according to their specializations, they're all systems of that same underlying issues. And I had it once, automotive industry. The company was developing nearshore, a great bunch of guys. But everyone from the developers team was supposed to deliver as much features as possible individually, right? And they were incentivized accordingly. So meaning, okay, now you will be a team lead and you just have to make sure that we deliver more stuff. So there was just no room for collaboration in between them, right? So everybody was so focused on his or her task to be completed that the peer review column, there were just stuff piling up there because nobody was
not my
focusing.
thing. You developed it.
It's not my
so.
thing. You develop it. You just take care of it. So I'm just focused on my stuff. And the question that I always had is, are these people ever going to be a team? Very unlikely. Actually, the turnover in that team was quite high. And to sum things up, when you're trying,
I think it was designed for that, right? Like there's one of the ideas behind systems thinking, I don't know who said it, is that every system is designed to produce exactly what it is producing. And if if a team has large amounts of churn, then the system is supposed to produce churn. It was designed to produce churn. And us as Scrum Masters, we shouldn't just accept that as a given. We should ask, what are the parts of the system that are leading to this outcome, right? And we use things like, what is it called? The CLD, anyway, we use a diagramming tool for that specific understanding or research or investigation of what are the multiple causal loop diagram. That was it. Causal loop diagram to investigate what are the multiple dynamics in practice that lead to that outcome, right?
Exactly. And at that point, you can form a hypothesis. Okay, if I now change this dimension, how the system is going to behave overall. So, and
how did that happen for that team though? Like, were you able to change something? What were the things you were trying to help the team?
So two things. First of all, so there was a situation. It was a nearshore project. So the automotive company, they were hiring a software vendor, but to develop some features for them, right? So, and you probably are familiar with the client vendor anti-pattern from Jeff Patton, which basically says that if you are having a situation like that, the chance is high that both sides are trying to be the winner in that game, meaning like from a customer perspective, okay, I will get more out of the team for the same price over time. And from the vendor perspective, I will charge the customer more over time, but in my development, I'll be quicker because I know the code base better over time, right? And that was like one part of the system that was really troublesome. And in the end, the client and the vendor, they really were arguing as far as to an extent that they were holding the contract under each other's nose, right? Okay, but this doesn't mean, yeah, but this says here.
And the more they were right, the more wrong they were.
Exactly. But interestingly, since there was so much stress in the system, it enabled us, I was there with a fellow Scrum Master, a good friend of mine, to say, hold on, could we make a suggestion? And what we were doing at that point is trying to make, I cannot get into too much detail, but they were paying for features based on t-shirt sizes, based on the estimates. And what we were trying to do is sort of like floating estimates in terms of, because we were saying, okay, if you grossly underestimate, then probably the next features are going to be slightly higher, a little bit more expensive. But if you grossly overestimate, the next features are going to be slightly lower. So we wanted to take away the notion that one of the two parties could win in that game. And that worked amazingly well for the time that I was there. Then Corona hit, and well, I don't know how
even
that
less
went
trust,
afterwards.
right?
Yeah, but actually that was like, when we were able to remove that notion that one party needs to win in that game, all of a sudden people could focus on the delivery again and not on the t-shirt size itself.
Absolutely. That's a great story. Remove the reason for the conflict and the conflict evaporates. Very good systems thinking approach. Thank you for sharing that with us, Daniel.
Thank you.
Hi there, Agile friends. Thank you for sticking around. This year's first global summit dedicated to the product owner role in Scrum will have some amazing keynotes and 2 tracks filled with first-hand stories and experiences for product owners to learn more about that critical Scrum role. We'll have Roman Pichler, author and product expert, who'll be answering your questions and sharing the most important aspects of the product owner role. We'll also have Colleen Johnson talking about why roadmaps are probably making your life much harder than it needs to be and what to do instead. This talk was quite a success in Agile Online Summit 2022, and Colleen has learned some new tricks, tools, techniques that she will share with us when it comes to roadmaps for the product owner role. And we will also have Henrik Nyberg, author of Scrum and Kanban from the Trenches, as well as one of the creators of the Spotify model. So come in and listen to his stories. And we'll also have, of course, 2 tracks with many more sessions and even some live sessions. The 2 tracks will cover practices every product owner should know, where we'll be hosting conversations on topics that product owners need to be familiar with, like product backlog refinement, planning, and much more. The second track will be on metrics, measuring product and personal success as a product owner. As product owners, it's crucial to have a clear understanding of what are the metrics that drive success for us, and of course also for the products and businesses that we work with, and we need to continuously measure and optimize those metrics. So in this track, we'll be sharing what's working and what's not in the area of measuring success for product owners. We will also have the opportunity to network with our peers. It's a network event, of course, so get your tickets and join our Slack. Go to bit.ly/product owner 2023. That's all one word, all lowercase. As always, we will have free tickets and VIP tickets, which will give you long-term access to the content of this summit. So check them out at bit.ly/product owner 2023. All lowercase, all one word. I'll see you on the summit floor. Tuesday is Team Day here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. But tomorrow we talk about something that goes beyond the work we do with the teams. We will talk about how to lead change and what our guests have learned from leading and participating in change programs during their career. See you tomorrow.